Time. All righty. No big, great intro. We go right into it. Hello, Bonnie. How you doing? You're first in the room here. We're gonna wait a minute.
Jingle 1, jingle 2, and jingle 3.
Wasn't that the what Jingle and Jangle?
Yes.
Wasn't that the one
Yes.
Christmas special? Yeah. Year Without a Santa Claus, as I recall.
Exactly, one of my favorite.
Yeah. One of my favorite
The
too.
Heat Miser.
Because my mom looked like the Heat Miser. Yeah. She did. We'd always make fun of her because she had a kind of a nose that was kind of flat, and my mom had red hair. So
that's perfect. I love it.
All right, everybody, welcome. I can't see that great, so Chris is going to have to say the hellos in the room there.
Hello, Celine, Laura, Tina, because I see so just as good as you do. Kayla, Carlos, hey Dana. Say hi to me, Dustin. Dana wants you to say hi to him, Dustin.
Hey, how's it going?
All right, so joining us, it's been a while, although we did see him a couple of months ago, but on here, it's been a while. Dustin Pari, everyone knows from Ghost Hunters.
Happy to be here. Good to see you guys again.
We were literally just talking before we came on about Dustin's schedule, because if you follow him on social media, he's always on a plane. Always on a plane, always driving, and nothing stops the man. Tornadoes. I've seen tornadoes. I've seen other things.
Yeah, blizzards. Yeah, all kinds of nonsense. So
again, we're kind of talking about this a little bit. You love doing the lectures. You love staying busy. What is it about that you love so much?
It's doing the show is one thing. I love doing the show. I'm very thankful to have that opportunity. But to go out to the events, to meet the people that have made the show successful, to meet them in person, and to have the one-on-one interaction, to me, that just means the most. And to be able to do the lectures, I have a lot of weird, fun, happy little thoughts, and everything from paranormal stuff to motivational things to the Christmas lectures, which I'm in the midst of now. I love just going out there and doing these presentations and trying to bring people some joy and some food for thought. And that means the most to me. So I'm thankful to do it. We don't sleep a hell of a lot. There's a lot of traveling, a lot going on, but I'm very thankful for it.
Well, here's the thing too. And I didn't get to see the lecture from this previous expo. We do have it. We just didn't watch it yet. But there were so many people that came up to me and that were just saying, "Oh my God, that lecture that Dustin did had me crying." Yeah, literally crying.
But here's the big takeaway from your lecture, and just to sum it all up, is that there were a lot of people.
I will get to finish a thought during this interview.
In a minute.
It will happen.
But there were a lot of people that came out there and saying that they felt hope and rejuvenated, and they were revived by listening to what you gave. And that was the big talk for even months after, where people were saying that your lecture gave them something. It wasn't just knowledge, but I think it was that human connection.
That means the most to me. And that's what I strive to do, kind of like a Trojan horse with every lecture. Like, you book me for a paranormal lecture, a Christmas lecture, whatever it may be, and I'll do all the content. You dance with who brought you. But the things that mean the most to me about what I do is making that human connection and trying to help people to understand that we're all struggling. We're all trying to find our way through this, but we can find a way through it together. I was just down at the Bell Mansion last week, and I did one about Santa Claus. I did one on It's a Wonderful Life.
Right.
Favorite
movie.
Oh, I love it so much, man. So good. The black and white one. I won't watch the color one, but black and white one's so good. And the gentleman came up to me afterwards, big dude, and he shook my hand. He's like, 90% of that lecture, I just sat there and cried. Thanks a lot for that.
You mentioned that movie. I've loved that movie since I could understand really what it was about. And I always, I've seen it 100 times. And that ending, the richest guy, they're almost Niagara Falls every single time, because that movie just, everything about the perfect movie. It really is the perfect movie. It resonates with you. But we were in Gettysburg for their holiday thing, probably before COVID. Mm-hmm. They were showing that at the Mystic Theater in black and white. First time I ever saw it on the big screen.
Amazing. Amazing.
Amazing.
Oh, I would love to see that like that, man. That's one of those movies for me too. I have to watch it every year, and I do. I sit there, I sob, and because it touches that human element, that the idea of sacrifice, the idea of struggle and friendship, and how important that is. There's two lectures I do I can't get through myself without getting a little teary eyed. That one and Thoughts Upon a Christmas Carol. Those two stories are just so important, I think, in really kind of surmising what Christmas is about, and what it should be about at least. It's not all the things, it's not all the presents and the garbage and the gifts, but that understanding of how we are here to take care of each other. That's there's a lot of magic in that thing.
Well, Cody, hey, Cody's on. Cody tried to assault me with a mannequin leg. I don't know if you know that or not.
I saw that.
Yes.
Saw that. Yes.
True story. True story. Yep. I have documented. I have a picture of it. So
John deserved it.
My lawyer will be contacting both Jason Hawes, Satori Hawes, and Cody. But anyway, this is why I wanted to have you on. Besides the fact that we are friends, and I do think the world of you, and
same here.
We love having you at the expo. Everybody loves you being there, but it is that time of the year, and I thought that we're going to get to the paranormal stuff for sure. We'll get into that a little bit, but this time of the year, this is why I wanted to have you on. You're a motivational person. You're a caring person, and like you just said in a one or two sentences about this time of the year, what it means and what it should mean to everyone. And a lot of your talks are about that. I mean, the message. People forget the message. All these times more than ever.
It's sad, man. Sometimes people will start to, and I always feel very hopeful when I see people start to get it. You see that twinkle in their eyes around this time of year where they realize that, we can be doing more for others, that we're not in this damn world by ourselves, and it's not about me all the time. And unfortunately, I believe the reality of it is a lot of people throw that goodwill out with the tree on the 26th. We don't see it again until next year, maybe,
It is sad because for me, I tell her ever since I've known her, and I've known her forever, September, I start feeling it, like that time of the year, and I pump the brakes. I know you're busy. We get busy, but I pump the brakes. Once we get to December, I want to enjoy the feeling of that time of the year, especially when you get older. You get a little older, you're without some of the family that you had your whole entire life, and you're missing them, and you're remembering memories. And it's important to make memories, continue to make memories with friends and family and loved ones.
But you have to remember the people who don't have someone.
That too.
Yeah,
that's alone, that doesn't have the resources that we have, and may have to worry about putting food on the table. Like, we're supposed to look after our neighbors and our fellow man.
Yeah, it's
that's what this is.
I've noticed a lot of like I do the cameo videos and stuff, and a lot of them are just simple hi, hellos, happy holidays kind of thing. But this year, I noticed I get a lot of requests for people that are struggling around the holidays due to loss, and like my mom had passed this year, so this was the first year that I've dealt with that on a personal level, and so it's been different. But my advice for people, even from years previous, I think rings true, and maybe even more so this year, because now I can fully appreciate it. And that's, although we do miss them, thankfully, those of us that are in the paranormal world, we know that they're not truly gone, right? We just know we can't see them currently. At least most times we can't, but we know they're not truly gone. And I think it's very important for us to remember that, listen, if you don't want to celebrate, don't celebrate. If it doesn't feel right, that's okay. But I think a lot of times people almost feel guilty in carrying that torch forward and trying to put up the tree or whatever. And for me, I always advise people, like, maybe there was something very special about the holiday that person liked. Maybe your relatives, your friends really love Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever it is. Maybe you celebrate it extra for them. Maybe not just for yourself, because now you're carrying their spirit forward too. So you set the extra plate at the table, you make their favorite dish, whatever it may be, but you celebrate a little bit extra in their memory, because they wouldn't want you to feel bad. They wouldn't want you to not be putting up the decorations and things. And again, if it's not for you, that's fine too. But I feel a lot of times we feel guilty about wanting to do something joyous at a time of loss, but there's a way to do it respectfully and thoughtfully and not forget about those. And I just saw my friend Dan on here mentioned there was a project I run called AOK. It's Acolytes of Kindness. I run it on my Patreon page. And it's for every level. Every tier has access to AOK because it means so much to me. It's not a money-making thing. But the Acolytes of Kindness project, we do a monthly mission of wellness for ourselves and try to raise that vibration so that we can do kind acts. And then every week we have weekly challenges to try to do kind acts for others. And this month is a little bit more fun because of the holidays. So like last week was candy cane, putting candy canes on a bunch of driver's side door handles, like in a parking lot or outside of your work. So everyone comes out and it's like, what the hell just happened? There's candy canes everywhere, you know?
You've been caned.
Yeah, that's it. Not in the fun, naughty way, but just in like a fun other way. But one of the other things,
we were doing so good.
Yeah, I know. We were so close. We already got your my safe word is peppermint. But I think, John, something that you mentioned too is like the season goes so fast, and
especially when you get older.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Our world is fast. It's noisy. It's busy. We work constantly, one job, two jobs. We're trying to order gifts. We're trying to buy gifts. We're trying to sort and wrap gifts. And we often will stop and go, I missed the friggin' season because I was doing all the things, you know?
Yeah.
So the monthly mission for AOK this month is to focus on, I kind of wrapped it around the idea of the ghost of Christmas present and the idea of being mindful of our present situation. In the written work of Charles Dickens, when he talks about the ghost of Christmas present in A Christmas Carol, he mentions that as Scrooge is looking in upon his relatives, his nephew Fred having the party, he denotes that maybe if he had spent more time around others, listening to their jovial laughter and enjoying them, maybe his heart wouldn't be so hard where he is today. And I think that's great advice for us now. We're so damn busy that our heart does start to harden. Maybe we do lose the idea of the holiday. And so I go to very simple, mindful techniques, very popular these days. Stop what you're doing when you feel like you're overwhelmed with everything going on. Look at 5 things around you that you can see and name those 5 things and be thoughtful of them. You know, reach out and touch 4 things that are around you and be mindful of them. Breathe in the smells of 3 different things around you. And like you go down like 2 into 1 that you can actually touch and taste. And the idea just being that as you slow yourself down to that moment, you finally start to forget all that busyness going on around you and you truly take part in what's going on.
You're now engaged.
Yeah. And that's what we need to do more of, you know, and I think it's hard. You know, we often say we don't have enough time. Time's a man-made construct. It's an illusion, but we do note it, we mark it. And so we see it rush by us, right. But every day we have the same amount of time. It's just how we use it. And I think by being mindful when slowing things down and keeping the idea of being in the present really will help us to enjoy our days a little bit more, you know, and try to squeeze in a little bit more happiness and hopefully live a little better life.
Well, even you, again, you touch upon something. We talked about how many things you're doing and how you're not going to get a day until literally a couple of days before Christmas.
Yeah.
Now, life is that way. And I'm guilty of this as much as you and everybody else. Your brain is on the next thing. Even now, people are approaching me about next year. When do you want to give us some dates? And I'm like, no, not now. Not this time. This time I'm enjoying this year. We did the event with Cody and Satori in Waynesboro, and she'll tell you, I actually said to her, I'm enjoying this. Yeah. I want to enjoy every minute of this weekend,
which is
so many times I'm thinking about the event and if people are going to enjoy themselves and are they going to get their money worth and you know, the whole thing, you know. Yeah. And this time I said, I want to enjoy every minute of it. And we did. And guess what? That's a memory now in my head of this is part of a very good Christmas I'm having so far, right. You know, this year with her and my friends and my family. But we tend to do that too much where we're just on the next thing. We're doing checklists. Yeah. Life does go by too fast if you're always on the next thing. You don't enjoy this thing ever. And that's me.
Yeah. I hear you. I think that's a lot of us, man. It's just it's tough, but it is something that we have to slow down and try to do. You know, for me, going to the gym every day is my little reset. Like that's my 90 minutes of just focusing on what I'm doing. I listen to my little wrestling podcast, but a lot of concentration just in the moment, the repetition, and it helps to just kind of steady me with what else I have to do the rest of the day, and I don't think about anything else while I'm there. It's tough because it is sometimes even as I'm doing a lecture, I'll get done. I'm like, I don't even know what the hell I just said.
I do that often. I'll do that an hour from now. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah, like, what did we just do?
That.
You know, but I just want to say,
and
this. I just want to say this, and this is an honest statement. This isn't earnest. It's not just because we're friends and I'm here on your show tonight. But I know you worry about the events a lot that you guys put on. But everyone I've been a part of has always been amazing. Like, and I don't say that lightly. I've done a lot of events for a lot of people. I don't talk bad about anyone, but I won't always say that every event that I've attended was amazing. Right. But you know, I've done Para-Uni with you guys. I was at the Mine earlier this year with you guys, and just attention to detail, attention to the organization, the volunteers, people moving people around, and making sure that the people are actually enjoying themselves.
Right.
And knowing when to pivot a plan and be like, well, this isn't working. Let's try this. I mean, you guys are top notch, and I'm always happy to work with you. And anybody that can go to your events, I highly recommend it if they haven't already.
Well, you know, that's all me, Dustin.
And humility is so tough.
No, he's very humble. Absolutely very humble.
I'm joking. We do. Here's the thing, and it goes along with what we're talking about with the holidays and all this other. You have to learn to be appreciative and grateful for what you do have, even if it's a lot or a little. It's still something to be appreciated, and don't ever take anything for granted that you get. I mean, Dustin, you said yourself, being on the Ghost Hunter show, having these people attend your lectures and appreciate them and follow you on Patreon and everything that you do and support what you do. I mean, that's something where you've earned that, of course, but you'll never sit there and say you're not a guy with an ego. I've never known you to be someone with an ego. You're very humble. See how I can kiss his butt the way he just kissed ours. I am good at this. And but no, I'm being totally serious though.
Thank you, sir.
You appreciate that. I know you do. You're a genuine person.
You've been the same person we met from before.
Yeah.
Now nothing's changed.
No, not at all. He'll text me, you know, I heard you're sick, or when my mom and all that. And it's just like, you know, there's people that we deal with all the time in this field, and it's not that way with everyone. He's a genuine person. And I appreciate that about you the most. You know?
Thank you, Carlos. Carlos goes, I remember Chris doing all the running around.
It's just, you know.
He has his strengths. I have mine. He's the creative. I give John all the credit in the world. He's the mastermind creative.
We both.
And we
both. It's at least 70-30.
I mean, I will
admit that.
But the funny thing is, this is how it works, people, and it's funny. And if you ever are lucky enough to get with somebody who gets you, John has strengths where I have weaknesses, and vice versa. And this is what makes us work really well. We complement each other.
Wow. So another thing, Dustin works a lot and puts the message out there, and I'm not going to drag us too far down because it is the holidays. Suicide. You're always posting messages about, hey, if you're having a hard time, you know, there's help out there. When did that start for you? And is there something behind that, or is it just?
So that started for me putting it out there back in the days of MySpace when I was on the international show. I'd get a lot of messages from fans and things asking about the show or saying how much they hate me in my visor, like whatever it was. But people were writing to me, and so I read the messages and I'd always write back. And it went from like ghost advice stuff to questions about self-harm and cutting and ideas of suicide. And I was always quick to point out, like, I'm not a therapist, you know, but I'm willing to listen. And if somebody wants to tell me what's going on, I can give you my best advice. And I always, you know, every night on Twitter, I always sign off with the number for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I try to always point people in the right direction to get help from legitimate sources. But I kind of feel like all of us are capable of helping at least on the basis of that we listen. And I think sometimes people just need someone to listen to them. The nighttime I find is the worst time. That's why I always post it at the end of the time. Because it's dark, it's cold, we're alone, and all the thoughts of the day just compile. Hope comes with the dawn, and sometimes it doesn't last that long. But I always caution people, don't think tomorrow's going to be better, you know, because it might not. It might be worse, and then you get set up for failure. Just know that, you know, there's going to be a rise and fall like every day, but we don't lose unless we give up. And I also do not cast any judgment upon someone who has suffered death by suicide, because it's not a sign of weakness.
No.
This life is very, very difficult.
Yep.
And although I want everybody to finish the story, you know, I feel like our lives are all a puzzle that kind of connects each other. And I feel like we all are important, and we need to have that connection. You know, we go back to It's a Wonderful Life. You know, when Clarence is talking to George, when George realizes all the changes that are affected because he wasn't there, Clarence says to him, "It's odd, isn't it? One man's life leaves such a hole when he wasn't here." And he's absolutely right. Like, we may not think we're very important. We may think that we're all screwed up. We may think we're worth more dead than alive, but we need to be here. And it's not easy. That's why we need to be there for each other. And it's so very important. And myself, it resonates with me because I did lose a friend of mine. Well, two now, but I lost one many years ago when I used to work at CBS News. And then I lost another young lady who I met over the years, who was a great friend and fan of the show. Her and her mom were wonderful people. Her mom still comes to events every time I'm out their way. And I've got to see her son grow up, and I've got to still be a part of their family, which is important. It's a nice connection. And it's good to keep people's memories alive. When we lose somebody, don't stop thinking about them. Don't stop saying their name. Make sure that you carry that memory forward. And it's very important. But yeah, this life's not an easy one, but we can get through it together. And it's a lot of lessons and a lot of pain and a lot of goddamn misery. And we're all broken. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful in that way. I always say we're like stained glass windows. We're all broken, but we're beautifully put back together. And that's part of our journey.
No, but I like that. I like that you make it very clear that none of us are perfect.
No.
None of us have a perfect life.
We all struggle.
We all carry our burdens. So we can help each other. There's no
we
reason
all struggle.
not to do it.
I had issues when I was younger, in my teens, where I was really depressed. And it's funny because we all been through the teen years. Everything is magnified, you know, with your relationships, everything. You know, you don't realize that you're, you know, this age, and there's so much more ahead of you. No matter what you're dealing with, it's magnified. And you mentioned, you know, at nighttime, that's when usually the demons come for anybody. You're laying alone, and it's just you and your thoughts. And I'm guilty of that more than anyone. I wake up out of a sound sleep in my brain. Everything I've ever done, everyone I've ever wronged, is just there. And my mantra is, even my son dealt with depression a little bit, and I just kept telling him, look, this is a period of time, not the whole time. You know, better days are coming. Yeah, those bad days will still be there, but hopefully the better days outnumber the bad ones, and life, you know, is beautiful if you just embrace it and make relationships and friendships and allow yourself to experience it. You know, it can be much more. Don't judge life on one bad day or a couple of bad
loneliness
days.
Can be a real
Yeah,
big
of
key
course.
factor.
This time of year,
I mean, my daughter had a mental illness. She attempted suicide many, many, many times, unfortunately. And I see so many on here that are all saying the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, their sons, you know, their loved one, their best friends. So we all have something in common. If you sit down and, like you say, Dustin, if we sit down and we talk to each other, we find out we have more connections than we realize.
Absolutely.
And seek out help. I mean, that's really the message.
Yeah,
even if there's not a best friend or a family member, there are people out there that care.
Yeah, there's people that'll listen and people that'll rise to the occasion to help out. But it's not easy to talk about, and that's why I put it out there all the time, because I want people to realize that it's okay to have these discussions and to just say, listen, I'm struggling with things, and this is where I'm at. And I mean, there's times on social media I put out there, like, I'll just say, hey, like, having a unicorn weekend, that means like I'm going offline. Everything's fine. I'll be okay. But I need that time to just kind of touch base, focus on myself, and get myself where I need to be. Because I know if I'm not right, I'm not right. And, I made a couple of videos about this. Before I get into this, I just want to say condolences to all those that did put messages up of loss. As you guys just mentioned, we've all unfortunately lost somebody or been connected to somebody one way or another. And so bless all y'all that are still in the game, and don't forget those people that we've lost along the way. is I put out there, and it was very tough for me to put this video out there because I'm not somebody that looks for the sympathy of strangers and listen, if somebody likes that kind of thing, it's just not for me. I
Right.
always keep my cards very close to the vest. I don't like
Right.
other people to know what's going on with me. But I suffer from post-COVID tinnitus. And I don't even want to use the word suffer anymore. I'm surviving. I'm not quite striving, but we're getting there. But after my first round with COVID in early 2020, I woke up with this high pitched ringing in my head that has never been silenced since. So you have the ringing of the tinnitus, but then you also get this weird intracranial pressure with emotional imbalance where I'll be watching a comedy with my wife and I'll start crying and I don't know why.
Wow.
I'll be just hanging out and there's nothing wrong, but I have this sense of like rage and anger.
Wow.
Double vision, like I can't get straightened out. I have to wear my vision can kind of compensate during the day, but toward the end of the day it falls apart. So I have to wear glasses with like a bevel in them to try to keep my vision together at night. So it's been a lot of a struggle, and I had to find my own ways to work around it. In the beginning, I was on a long list to get help, and with I think it was Northwestern University, one of those colleges, and it was like a year and a couple of months before I could even talk to anybody. I went locally. I did all the neurological things. I did all the doctor things you could think of, homeopathic, acupuncture, everything. And every day it was just the same, just like depressed, ringing, distracted, two people talking at once. I can't tell what word is being said, forgetful as a bastard. I've had cats that I've had for over 10 years. Some days I'll look at it and be like, I don't know what we call that one. And it
Wow.
takes me a while to figure it out, you know. But I've learned ways to adapt with it. I've learned ways to deal with it. The medication they put me on made me feel completely numb, and I didn't like that. So I
No.
found other ways to help myself. The gym's a big part of that. My nighttime walks. But the thing is, I was like, you know what? I'm finally going to I made a YouTube video. I was like, I'm finally going to put it out there because there may be other people struggling with this or some other type of illness that just needs to hear. Like, it's not the end of the road. I met with one audiologist. He told me, he's like, like 3 to 4 months. I'm like, 3 to 4 months and it'll be gone. He's like, no, unfortunately, people struggling with this die by suicide in 3 to 4 months.
Oh.
And I was like irate with this fellow. I was like, you're a healthcare
my
professional and you're
God.
telling people that they have 3 to 4 months. It was like a snake oil scam because he's trying to sell these $8,000 hearing aids
Yeah, of
that were
course.
experimental. He's like,
Yeah.
but in 2 years, you might have 20% success rate. I'm
Oh.
like, dude, this is nonsense. But unfortunately, the numbers were not lying. Like at the time, I think it was like 1 in 8 that had this were dying by suicide, and the most notable one, just out of everyone's important, but just notoriety for namesake, was the gentleman that founded the Texas Roadhouse restaurant chain, and
Wow.
a lot of the stores still have a thing about him before and take donations for this because it is very difficult. But but I'm not giving up. I'm not going anywhere. Some days are super loud and it's really hard to like focus. A lot of times I'll lose my words and I feel really stupid. Thankfully on stage, I've done the lectures enough where they're kind of like muscle memory.
Right.
And if
right.
I'm just running a random one, people know my character that I'm goofy and screwed up all the time anyway. So if I forget a word, it's okay. It actually happened at yours. I was trying to find the word for funeral home, and for some reason it came on an amusement park, and I'm like, that's not right. And then I stopped. And I'm like, I was thinking a funeral home, which is, I guess, an amusement park if you're into that kind of thing, but not. You must be this dead to ride.
Wow.
It sounds like a Walt
Yeah,
Disney ride.
you know
right
what's
there.
funny? That not funny though is I have my issues, which is why I wear my sunglasses, and I deal with a lot of health issues, and Chris does as well. Like you said, it's real easy to get caught in the why, like hopeless. It's not getting better tomorrow. It's been weeks. It's been months. This isn't getting any better. No one's telling me it's going to get any better.
Right.
Like you said, it's real easy to go down that rabbit hole of just negative and depressed. And I get that way a lot because it happens to me. This has been going on for a while now, but I have her. People that we do events with, just like with you, they don't seem to really, I react more than they do. I'm more mindful. I have the tinnitus as well. I have it right now. And, people always say to me, the glasses look fine. You look cool with the glasses. The glasses are fine. And I'm so self-conscious because I'm in a dark room with sunglasses on, but we're still here. You know what I mean? You have your your wife, you have your, your child, you have your, you know what I mean? You're
Yeah.
above ground. There's other people who are poor, who are homeless, there's so many other things where life can be
Yeah.
But I
so
think
much more
I think
difficult
the
that
big thing
we have
is
to.
that's why it's so important that these type of discussions are had and
Yeah.
you do the lectures, is because one, the component of the human condition.
Oh, it's
We all want to be seen.
Yeah.
We all want to be heard. We all want to matter. And I don't want to feel alone.
Yeah.
no.
For
And,
sure.
and again, I don't know if we talked about this before, but my sister has the same disease that I do, neurofibromatosis. My sister is completely deaf, completely blind, in a wheelchair with a feeding tube.
Wow.
There's no way to communicate with my sister anymore. And her and I were like this.
Yeah.
And she was like my best friend. And I can't even, like, all I can do is sit with her and hold her hand when I'm with her. And with anything that happens to me, I feel guilty about feeling bad about it for one day, because I've seen the other, as bad as this could be. And I have to wear sunglasses. So what? My hearing's a little bad. So what? I'm still able to function and live my life for the most part exactly the way I want to. So,
so what do you do? This is really important too. What do you do? How did you get yourself through that to cope with this? It's easy to say, well, I just do it. But what would be your advice to somebody? And it can be any condition out there. We all know we're all different and unique. What would you say to someone struggling right now?
I feel like it really comes down to where we focus, and it just kind of echo a lot of your sentiments as well, Chris and John, that you guys both just put out there. There's so much more to be thankful for. Like, yeah, every day is kind of like a high-pitched ringing little nightmare. But sometimes I just joke with myself. I'm like, it's my angel radio. I'm just tuning it in, I'm just trying to get it better. But I know some days are good, some days are bad. But I try to focus on the other things. And like for my own condition, like music helps distract, background noise generators.
Always, you have to.
Yeah, you're gonna have something, because if not, it's super loud.
You'll go crazy.
Yeah, no, you can. And thankfully, my wife adapted to sleeping with a Cricket sound machine in the bedroom because I can't sleep without it.
I have the TV on. She'll tell you.
Yeah, but I really feel like it just comes down to where you focus, and it's not easy. It's none of a lot of times people, I think, get the wrong idea with me, like, oh, you're always so happy if it was just that easy, or they'll ask for advice and I give it to them, and that's what they say. Well, if it was just that easy, none of this shit's supposed to be easy.
No,
like if it's worth doing, no matter what it is in life, not even surviving a healthcare thing, but just like whatever your goals are, if it's worth doing, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be struggle. It's going to be pain. It's going to be setback. It's going to be doubt. It's going to be lonely nights and frustration. But if it's worth doing, then you find a way to do it. And so my life is still worth living. Yeah, it's a lot of a nightmare, like within my head sometimes. And it's very frustrating when I can't remember things. And I know the neuroplasticity in the brain is going to continue to break down. So, I still believe in miracles, but the scientific portion of it isn't too promising, but who knows? But I don't get focused on that. And kindness, positivity, all of this is a practice, and you have to work at it every day. It's not like I was just born thinking, hey, everything's sunshine and rainbows. Like, no, like we were discussing before in high school, I remember laying there with my little mullet and laying in my bedroom, listening to Pink Floyd and just staring at my lava lamp.
The good old days.
Oh yeah, and that was it. Now I do. I think of it, Michael. Man, I would love to just lay in bed and stare at a lava lamp and listen to Pink Floyd. But at the time it was just depressing and like lonely and like, what the hell's going to happen with me? But and then like all of a sudden I get this. But I'm like, and it took the better part of a year to start to get a handle on how to do things. It was also during 2020, so I couldn't find anybody to help me. But going to the gym really helped me a lot. And exercise I think is so important for us because our lives, our jobs 90% of the time are very sedentary, but very repetitious, and it's just good. Like, listen, I'm not saying everyone has to be a Barbie doll or a damn fitness model, but we can always feel a little better about ourselves because physically we're putting in some exercise. You get nice endorphin release, dopamine release, things that make you feel better and more positive. Obviously you get the physical effects of it. And for me, I'm not trying to look beautiful. I just want to eat a lot of pizza and not feel so bad in my brain.
Dustin, speaking of that, Dustin, one of the funniest things, and I wouldn't believe it unless I saw it, we're at the mine with Dustin. Dustin's there with Cody and Satori, and Dustin's a healthy guy. Dustin's, he's ripped. He comes out of he comes walking up the stairs, and he's got every kind of sugar thing you can imagine. He's got like cookie dough cupcakes.
I did.
Sugar drink, sugar backup, pack of stuff. And I'm like, you eat that stuff? He goes, oh, I love sugar. I gotta have sugar. And I'm like, I was shocked to see you like with that many sugar items. Do you eat that much?
There is a problem. There is a problem there.
I'm
those
like,
little pocket pies you get at the gas station. I'm addicted to those quick and go little pies. But yeah, anything cookie dough flavored or like birthday cake flavored, like I have to try.
He gives me one of these cupcakes, and I was like, I spit it out because I was like, that is just
pure
like
sugar.
my mouth. It was pure, like taking a thing of sugar and just pouring it down my throat.
Yeah, it's delicious. That's what I like, man. And it just, right now it's tough because we have those little Debbie Christmas tree cakes.
Oh,
I might have to put a lock on the cabinet because I find myself down there around 2 a.m. I'm like, maybe just one more. I made the dip. I've done all the things. I'm like, I love those.
The temptation is real.
Here's the thing too, and again, I'm starting to get into the psychosis here a little bit of Dustin, and what this is going to be like a Dr. Phil episode of New Jersey Paranormal. You're kind of like me in a sense, and maybe I'm way off base here. And I drive her crazy. I need a busy mind. There cannot be downtime for me because this is my worst enemy. You dwell, you think, so for me, busy. I'm, all the events that we do, I love doing. I love being around people. I love the paranormal, the interviews. When I'm not doing that, I'm doing other things. Do you think that's part of kind of why you do what you do, as busy as you stay, or you just love doing it and it really doesn't factor into the issues that you have?
It might be a little bit from column A and column B. I know being busy does help me keep my mind off things. I'm not one to sit stagnant. Like even if I'm sitting, like I like watching, WWE wrestling and AEW. Even if I have that on in the background, like everything's on DVR. I never watch anything live outside of football once in a while, but like I have too much to go on with my time. So even when I have wrestling on, like I'm updating my website, I'm working on a coloring book. I'm always doing like two things. But my mom told me that like growing up, I always made her nervous because she thought somehow intrinsically I knew I was going to die young or something. Because I would call her and be like, "Hey, I'm going skydiving." While I'm getting on the plane, like that was my time to call her. Like I did demolition derby, cross country trips. Like anything that I could do that made me feel a little bit more alive, I wanted to do it. And so I was always doing things and just, I don't know. I feel like I want to be productive and like I love writing my books and things because I think that they're helpful and maybe they'll leave a little bit of a legacy. Not that anybody needs to live forever, but it's nice to be remembered for something decent. So I like doing those kind of things. But yeah, I don't know. I can't imagine, I like hiking, but even then, like I'm physically doing something.
Right.
But it's very peaceful. I'm very in the moment. I just put my music on and just go wander in the woods. I like being kind of a little bit quieter when I'm outside.
Yeah, me too.
If I'm in the house, I'm itchy, man. I got to get things done. I can't just sit and be like, let's binge watch something. That's just not what I do.
Again, especially with the issues you're dealing with now, I mean, was therapy ever a consideration as far as like?
Yeah, of course. I'm a big supporter of therapy. I think that a lot of times people give up early with it because they just don't find the right fit, right therapist. But I mean, having a therapist is like having a doctor and a friend.
Right.
And you could have a great doctor physically that you might not be friends with, but you don't need to be because you're not telling them all your stories. It's not emotional. They're just putting a camera up your butt and calling it a day. But like, you go to therapy, you need someone that you're actually friends with. And so there needs to be someone that you have that connection with. So finding the right therapist, I think is very important. So I'm not currently in therapy because she actually kicked me out of the nest. She's like, you know everything you need to do and you're doing it. She's like, if you need me, you call me. She's like, but I can't continue to treat you because you're already doing all the things. Like, we work together for the better part of the year. Yeah.
I'm
But
just
yeah,
wondering what doctor you go to. It shoves cameras up your butt all the time. That may be a problem there too, as well.
and I'm
Because
pretty
usually,
sure he's a doctor. Just into this kind of thing. I don't
you
know.
know, not
Yes,
he's
we
not
are
at the
Thunder
dumpster
fans.
behind the CVS. He doesn't really work there, Dustin.
I thought it
I'm
was just
sorry.
an adjacent building. That's not how that works.
Well, let's get into again the holiday stuff. We're into the holidays. Let's talk about the holidays. Are there any Parry traditions? Is there anything you do every year for the holidays with your family or your friends or any kind of stuff like that?
Something that
do?
won't get you in trouble.
So I miss the Christmases that my Nana had when I was a kid. Like she had when my mom. There was 4 kids in the family, and everybody had children, and everybody had nieces and nephews and aunt. There was so many people at that house. It was one of my favorite things, and I don't like that it's not like that anymore. But unfortunately, most of those people have passed, and my
Right.
family isn't as big anymore, so it's not like that. I do have a tradition that has come about. I'll tell you 2 things quickly. One has come about because of everyone's passing. Started when my grandfather passed. He was the first when I was younger in 5th grade. We would go to the cemetery around Christmas time and do a toast. And he would like that god awful Moxie soda. So we all had to have a
Oh
little.
no, my dad was Moxie. This
Yep.
is crazy.
I
Yeah.
never heard of it. I
Oh,
never heard of it, and then he
it's,
brought it up.
it's very unique. It's got a
Oh
great
yeah.
label. It's got a great
Horrible
label.
taste.
Yeah, horrible taste. And then my Nana died, and Nana liked white zin. So we would mix the white zin in with the Moxie to try to like neutralize the taste, and we would have that. And now, unfortunately, all my aunts, my uncles, and my mom, even one of my cousins are all deceased now. So just my one cousin and I have been going to do the annual toast. So we'll do that again this year. And then my more fun, uplifting Christmas thing is that my Nana used to make a wonderful cookie, whiskey balls, like a cocoa chocolate ball rubbed in powder and loaded with Jameson whiskey. And I remember watching her make these when I was a kid. And as a little kid, when all the parents were smoking cigarettes and singing and telling jokes, I would sneak out to the cookie tray and load my plate with the whiskey balls, thinking if I eat enough of these, I will also be drunk. And then I would lay on, she had the floor furnace. I would lay on that big vent. I would lay on that big vent and listen to Alvin and the Chipmunks
Oh
on a
my
record.
God.
And it was so good. So now every year, I have to make the whiskey balls. So, and we go heavy on the whiskey in Nana's honor. So they're delicious. That's what I'll be
Now
doing.
you just did a perfect example of what you bring out when you feel sad and depressed and you're having a hard time. You
Whiskey.
go back to those whiskey balls.
Yeah.
Wow.
Drink responsibly, my friend. But you drink.
Wow.
Oh, that's so good.
Well, again, it is weird as you get older, and maybe you think like again, it's a wonderful life kind of perspective thing. Like I don't know, the older like my mom I didn't have a father, but my mom, that generation, they were all about the family Christmas. You know what I mean? Even if they didn't like each other, like we would go over to my aunt's house and everything like that. And we had big, and then we kept that on for a while. And then my mom passed and that all went out the window. But like, I have really fond memories of big family Christmases. I miss that a lot. I mean, we get together with my kids and it's great and everything, but you didn't like again. I didn't appreciate them enough. That's kind of like what you're saying too. Those moments that it like as you get older now, when a memory is happening. I do at least. Yeah. When you're having a good time and you're with whoever, friends or family, or you're hanging out at a convention or whatever, this is a memory. I'm going to remember this. This was such a good time. This is especially when you get older, you start filing those away a little more going, I'm going to look back on this. This is a good time,
Yeah, making memories is a wonderful thing. And I think you're right. There's something that you pick up with age where you kind of tap into the fact that something special is happening in this moment. So this is significant for some reason. And it's such a wonderful thing. It's funny, like I know it's a comedy, but National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Love it.
When he's sitting up in the attic watching those old movies and then playing that Ray Charles song.
Yeah.
Man, it's hard not to get emotional there. and now I have those home movies of like me
Yeah.
when I was a kid with my parents and everything, and I'm just like, man, it would be so nice to have that again.
Yeah.
And, but like you said, you have it with your kids now, and your family changes. But that big family Christmas, those days, I don't know if they're gone for everybody. I pray and hope they're not.
No,
But
I don't think they are for everyone.
Well, there's
unfortunately
different.
for
I
me,
think
they are.
I think this is. I grew up with the big family Christmas when I was young, but as we got older, it became more and more singular and divided. And I think what's unique is that we have to remember that everybody's definition of a Christmas or that time together, it's all different. We're a family can not only be blood family, but it can be the people that you have made that connection,
Yeah,
and you become like, we get a lot of people that come to the events and stuff, and he'll tell you, what do you call me? Because I remember what everybody says. I listen to what everybody says. I'll tell them, oh, that's so and so who has.
She's like Rain Man. She can recall or like Groundhog Day. If we run into someone we haven't seen in a year and a half, she'll go, "Oh, that's Marcy. You know her. She's got 2 kids. She lives in whatever, Ohio. She does this for a living." And I'm like, "Who? I met them." And she remembers everything.
I listen.
Which is bizarre.
Listen.
I obviously don't.
No, you do. But it's just like you're in the middle. His brain's always moving ahead so fast that sometimes it just isn't sit.
Yeah.
But I'll just like, and I'll know who, you know what? I've got a person that, oh my God, if I can just introduce you to, I bet you two are going to hit it off. Oh my God, I know that. And they're making lasting friendships and they're becoming family.
Yeah.
But somebody said, Chris is amazing. She truly listens to people. It's not that I don't listen. It's that, you know how like in Dropbox, you only have so much memory and then you have to buy more all the time.
Dumps.
I think I hit the limit and it just doesn't save to the cloud anymore. It just kind of, it's out in the ether.
I hear you. I'm always like, I'm always surprised and then upset with myself because somehow I can remember like commercial jingles from like when I was 5. Somebody will introduce themselves to me, and before we're done talking, I'm like, I have no idea what the hell their name is. Like,
yeah, I can literally watch Emmett Otter's Junk Man Christmas and saying the words as they're
it. Yeah.
I don't remember some guy I met a month ago.
Or something I just said to him 10 minutes ago.
We even look the same.
Yes.
No, there may be others.
Oh, so good. I love it.
I just watched it again.
Emmett Otter's Junk Man Christmas is not as popular as it should be, but man, it is.
It should be on everybody's top list.
I literally will be with her and we'll be walking the woods and I'll go, look at the birds up in the trees.
The birds,
oh yeah, Chuck, they're gonna win the talent contest. I can go all day. Anyway,
the River Bottom Nightmare Band is so awesome. I wish
I mean, who didn't want them to win? Let's face it.
Yeah,
come
exactly.
on. Anyway, we're getting way off topic here. We are going to get into a little bit of the paranormal. I know you guys are.
But we do have to talk about what really was bizarre when we were at the Hoover House, and you were doing what you were doing. Yes, that connection thing. That
I don't even know all of what went on with that.
Oh my God!
So there was a doll that they got that they don't know much about, and supposedly it had something to do with like nightmares about airplanes or something like that. I couldn't.
Well, no. What happened is that as John's in the middle of talking about it, Satori was telling us about the nightmare that his brother had about this object and what.
Oh, that's right.
And then you sent a message like right in the middle while we were doing it about a situation with a plane and all that, and it was on such a weird level. We were all freaking out. It was all connected all at the same time. A synergy was going on. Mm-hmm. And we got freaked out. I wouldn't touch the doll. Like, keep that right over there.
I remember I woke up because so originally I had a dream about some doll in a plane crash, and I texted Cody and Satori about it because somehow Satori had the doll in my dream. And then she freaks out. I was texting Cody and her. Then she freaks out because her brother had just told her about the same damn dream, and then they get this doll, and so I don't know if he divulged everything about the plane thing, but he texts me. He's like, "Let me know if you doze off or anything, if you see anything or hear anything you think's that's significant." And I remember it was the number 7. It looked like a blue heart, almost like a pool full of water. There's a lot of water. And then there was something about like the access of 3 or the power of 3 or something like that. And then when I texted to him, he wrote back. He's like, I mean, this had to be a couple hours because I was in flight, but apparently the number 7 kept coming up in the sessions, and water kept coming up in the sessions.
Yep.
So
And
I've
you
yet to
literally
meet this
texted
doll, but
me.
freaky.
Well, you texted me when we were talking about you in the dream, and I'm investigating this doll, and you texted me
Yes, the doll in
something
the
like,
bubble wrap.
have a good time or something like that. And I'm like, Dustin literally just texted me as we're talking about the doll and investigating the doll. I'm like, how weird is that?
There's a weird connection. I have yet to meet the doll, so I need to go and spend some little time with it. We're going to do a little session with it because there's some strangeness going on there, and I love that kind of stuff. I don't find it scary, and that's not like false bravado, macho BS. But I love the fabric of this universe and how all our souls are woven together, and the fact that there's something that happens with friends and kinship. And like Cody's like a brother to me,
Yeah.
and I feel like all of us have a really good friendship. And there's something to be said, like where, you hear those old stories about how somebody would get in a car accident in one country and the mother would know, like all the way back in Italy or whatever. There's something to be said about those energy levels and connections.
Yep.
There's some weird vibration going on. We'll have to figure that out.
I'll tell you what, they're good people. We were with them and we had such an amazing time, and we get along with them so well. And it's weird because there's such a gap in age between us and them, but we just have a great time.
Doesn't matter.
When we're with them. But again, let's get into it a little bit of the paranormal. I don't want to keep you on all night, and I know you're busy and you're probably going to get on a plane in like an hour. But I had this really interesting conversation about, I want to say 6-7 months ago. I talked to Grant Wilson, and we were on the phone for 2 hours, literally. And he's writing a bunch of books about his theory on the afterlife and kind of the transition from the time we go to whatever happens at the end, I guess. And you were just mentioning how the fabric, how we're all, woven together. What is your opinion on what happens after? Like, do you think heaven is what the Bible says? Again, I'm not real religious, so I don't know all that stuff. But like, what do you think? What if someone put a gun to your head, hypothetical gun, and said, Dustin, what happens when we die? What do you say?
I always say the same thing, man. All my lectures, no matter what the hell I talk about, I always say that we are spirits going through human experience, right? We're not from here. We don't stay here. I believe that this journey is for us to get to know each other, help each other out, to live, to laugh, to learn, to love, to fail miserably, to feel all the emotions in this human experience. And I think when it's over, I think that it's different. I don't think it's the same for everybody, but I think there's a couple of similarities. So I think that if you've done it, and I'm a Christian, not going to baptize anybody, as long as everybody is kind to each other and loving, however you choose to worship or recognize a creator, God, goddess, all good. And if you don't want to believe anything, that's fine too, just as long as no one's hateful. But for me, I was raised a Christian, went to Catholic school, graduated kind of more of an atheistic kind of way. I was just trying to figure my own way out. I wasn't really into any of it. I felt it was good stories, but nothing that I felt a connection with. Years later, I get older, I wanted to become more spiritual. I felt an emptiness and I wanted to connect more. So I started reading about Taoism and Buddhism, and I started going to Baptist churches, and I went to Episcopalian churches, which is where I worship now. So I now just identify myself as a Christian, but I have a great respect for all the religions that have this positive mindset. And there's so many similarities. It just comes down to love and just treating people decently. But I really feel like while we're here, we need to work on that. And then if we do a decent enough job, and I'm not an Old Testament God guy where there's fire and brimstone and whips and stuff. Sounds like an S&M club. But for me,
I don't know. You like about doctors putting things in butt, whips. I'm trying to make this a family Christmas show, but this is awfully hard.
It's like Krampus. It's a Krampus show. So, but I like to think that if you do a good enough job, you get to have some afterlife time. And I do believe that it's at that point where you choose if you want to come back or not. And personally, I'm friggin' exhausted. I don't think I've done a stellar job, but I do believe, and I'd say with confidence, but not arrogance, that I think I've done more good in this world than any bad that I've done. And if anything else going forward, I've been doing a lot more good than bad. So I'm just going to exponentially get better. So just leave me here for a while, but not too long. But while I'm here, I want to make that difference. And when I go, if the option to me was not to come back for a bit, I think I'd take a break. But I do think that we get to choose if we want to come back, unless you've really screwed up. I think then you have to come back. I don't believe in fire and brimstone style hell. And I know that's against some of my Christian understandings, but I didn't write the book, and only people wrote the book, not God. It was inspired by God, written by man, therefore subject to lots of corruption.
You got it.
And I like a lot of the Dead Sea Scrolls, a lot of the Gospels that were handpicked and taken out by the Roman Empire when they put the Bible together. A lot of those books were written by the Essenes, who were said to be the closest to Christ. Again, my understanding doesn't have to be everybody's, totally cool. But from my understanding, when I went to the lectures about the Dead Sea Scrolls, they said these Essenes were probably the group closest to Christ. And therefore, a lot of the things they write may have a little bit more influence and stuff written many years after his death by people who never met him. And they mentioned that heaven is a real place. It's just a shift from where we are, often imperceivable to man. And I think that it really kind of denotes what I've experienced in my paranormal research. It's just a shift away. How come sometimes when we use UV lighting, we get more interaction with intelligent spirit in terms of apparition? How come if we use low-level red lighting, we have a better chance of seeing some of this residual energy? If we use IR, we get a lot more stuff. There's something that we just can't perceive all the time. And I've also had enough contact with the other side to know that it is very real. And although some certain people want everything to be negative and dark, and I get there's room for advertising, and I don't have any problem working with anybody. Again, as long as people are positive and kind, that's fine with me. There's an ass for every seat. There's plenty of channels and shows for people to watch. But I look forward more to the positive side of things, just like in this life. So do I believe in angels and demons? I do. Do I believe we could have encounters with both? I do. Do they ever want to make a show about angel encounters? I've pitched it. I was told no. So the darkness sells.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that the light's not real. And I just think, again, it's where we choose to look. And for me, I'm hoping there'll be pie and something for me to do. Maybe God could leave me in charge of the clouds for a day or something. I'd like that. You know, fun little environmental jobs, linking in on mortals. That'd be okay.
Do you believe that our existence from the time we're born, let's say born, do you believe in fate?
This is fun. I believe in fate and destiny, and people often think they're the same thing, but I don't believe that they are. I also, by the way, as I said briefly, I do choose if we get to come back. I also think we choose where we end up. My daughter blew my mind when I was younger, and so was she, obviously. We were playing Mario Kart. We were playing Mario Kart together, and she had to be, I don't know, maybe around 7 or 8. And she says, "Do you know why I chose you to be dad?" And like, I'm trying to let on that, like, what am I listening to? I'm just playing this video game. I'm like, no, you never told me. She's like, oh, well, I was watching, from the other place, and I thought you'd make a good dad. And I was like, okay. And then, like, she went right back into conversation about Mario Kart and never mentioned the other place or any other thing.
Wow.
And that was amazing to me. And I've heard some reincarnation stories where I've heard this to be the case. And, then people are like, well, I had a really bad childhood, a bad experience with. But it's like maybe your soul on the other side knew there's certain lessons that you needed to be subject to. Now, again, obviously, I don't wish anything bad upon anybody who's here. But maybe because of that endurance, you become stronger in this life. Yeah. And I really think that maybe we make some of those decisions, So, but yeah, that blew my mind when she told me that. I thought that was crazy. And to your question, John, which is currently eluding me, but if I talk long enough.
So you do believe in fate, you said fate and destiny are two different things.
Yeah. So it's in one of my books, I think, and I probably tweeted it half a dozen times too, that you need to live your life in such a way where you can snatch your destiny from the rusted jaws of fate. I fancy myself to be quite poetic from time to time. I really believe that we are fated to go so far in this life, but our destiny is out there for us to strive to grab that brass ring, almost like a pick a path book in our life. We've got level A, which is where we're all going to go, like no matter what happens. But there's options. There's options to make some random, amazing decisions on that path to really fulfill your destiny, which is a level above your fate. Fated, yes, we all died. That's the end story for all of us. And as John Lennon, I believe, said, he believed it to be like getting to the afterlife would be like when you die, you get out of one car and get into another. And I think maybe that.
Do you think there's like a subconscious thing that sometimes when we're not fulfilling our destiny or we're taking the wrong path, that there's this little something tries to kick you in the butt to get you back on track?
Yeah, absolutely. There's that low vibration, like everything is energy and vibration, and we are meant to thrive at a higher level. Some of us just kind of get through in the middle, muddling through together, and that's okay. And then there's always those low points. But yeah, just like the old like Jiminy Cricket, that voice of conscience that kind of like tells you like, hey, like this isn't right, or you're not doing what you should be doing. And as my good friend Tim Shaw said, after I related to him a personal experience I went through, which was very difficult, he said, well, you waited too long. You waited too long in the nest, and the universe had to kick you in the ass and get you out there. And yeah, like I use the analogy quite often of a time where I was in Malaysia and I was watching these monkeys climb this old temple and jump from place to place. All of a sudden, I saw one of the younger monkeys. He made the jump and then he just fell and hit the floor of the old temple. And I was like, oh, this poor thing. And then he climbed up again. Then it was kind of comical. I'm like, he just keeps falling. But but then you start to realize every time he pulls himself back up and climbs that vine, his muscles are getting physically stronger. Every time that he has to make that swing and jump, he's learning about energy. He's learning about his own inertia. He's learning his timing of where he needs to go, when he needs to let go. And that's all of us. We're all that damn monkey just falling and getting hurt and be like, what the hell did I do? And then we get back up and we climb and we get stronger and we go faster and further.
Yeah, but you know what's interesting too about again the take that you're saying is that let's say hypothetically we lay it out. Your life is quote unquote fated. You're born here. Here's the universe's path for you. The universe's fate for you. Now, are you saying that along that path, which was fated, almost like multiple choice, you hit an area and it's multiple choice, and depending on the choice, that map goes whoop whoop or continues?
It's kind of like a video game where you get to have choices of where it takes you.
I think the end quest remains the same. I think that there's a path that we take that no matter what we do we're fated to kind of come to an end. Now, I'm not saying like financially or where you die or those kind of things, but there's certain check marks that you have to make along this journey.
I agree.
But there are certain exits that you can take. Like 95 north, if I get on 95 south when I'm in Maine and I stay on it, I'm going to end up in Florida. And that's where I'm going to end up because that's where it's going to go to. That's where it's going to end. But along that journey, I could choose to stop in Rhode Island and get some really good Italian food. I could choose to stop by New Jersey and go to the Para Expo. Or I could choose to just keep driving straight to the end of the road. But there's moments for hallmark moments where things are really amazing, and also bad cities with potholes and misery, but you find your way through it and back onto 95.
Yeah, see, again, that's interesting in a lot of ways because, again, I dive too deep when it comes to certain things with not just the positive, but the negative. And I think of like, again, not to get too deep and too down for the holidays, but like people that are abused as children and stuff like that, like that can't be part of their path or their fate. You know what I mean? To make their journey so difficult from the onset to where you've started them all the way back here when you've given some other child 10 fingers, 10 toes, perfect, health and IQ and what, you know what I mean? Learning abilities. And see, that's where it stops making sense to me because the universe is cruel. If that's the case, then there is something cruel about the way the universe works on some level, in my opinion.
I wouldn't disagree with you. I believe, especially any crimes against children and innocence, the innocence of a child is the most magical, special, and fragile.
Never should happen.
Never should ever happen. That being said, it happened to someone in my family who's very, very close to me. So I know from not me personally, but I know from that person what it's like to be on the victim side of that and how absolutely horrible that is.
Right.
However, to your point, John, I don't think that person's fate was to start out in the hole like that.
Right.
But unfortunately, as there is a balance of good and evil within this world, although I wish it was in good's favor, there is the just and the unjust.
Right.
And unfortunately, I feel for children who start in that path of no doing of their own,
it's affected by others.
That's the negative exit.
Yeah.
That's the negative choice of the parent or the family member.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Because as much as we want to make the right choices,
right.
Other people. So here's a real life example, real quick. My daughter, who God bless her, not because she's my daughter, probably in spite of her being my daughter, she's friggin' brilliant. She's third in her class. She worries about everything way more than I ever did. And I used to cry myself to sleep if I get a 95 on a test.
Wow.
And she is meticulous. And we recently took a driving test. And we were outside parallel parking long into the night for days on end prior to this test. And she gets there. She does the whole test perfect. No problems at all. Happy, proud of herself. Pulling into the registry to go and submit the paperwork with the instructor. There's a woman who's standing with her back to the entranceway. She is on her cell phone, and she got a big backpack on. Back is to the entranceway to the RMV. She is not at a crosswalk, but she decides to randomly turn and without looking, run across the road. Run. So my daughter has to like jam on her brakes and take alternative action. And the instructor fails her and says, "You should have stopped when you saw her standing there in case she wanted to cross."
Oh,
no.
I was like,
wow.
I said, okay, well, it wasn't a crosswalk. Yes, you're supposed to yield to pedestrians, but if we stopped every time someone was just standing,
I mean, come on, you can't anticipate any person.
I had a
running
woman
out.
throw herself on the top of the hood of the car that I was taking for a test when I took my driver's test.
Well, that's in the backwoods.
That's awful.
She came running across and threw herself on the car. My teacher that was giving me the test goes, "The fact you didn't kill her and she's still standing, you pass."
She's a hillbilly. She's a hillbilly, Dustin. They're different out there. So it's all different.
But obviously my daughter was very upset by the whole thing, and but I was like, the lesson is, you can take another test in 2 weeks.
Yep, no big deal.
But I was like, the lesson is this: you could do something absolutely perfect. You could work your butt off to do something and have everything planned out and make everything happen. You pull every string, you achieve every goal, but some random person can completely screw it up with you because of a decision of their own.
Yep.
And it's fair in the fact that it happens to all of us.
Right.
People say, "Oh, it's so unfair." It's not. I mean, it sucks, but it's unfair if it only happened to one of us. It happens to everybody. And but yeah, it's just one of those things. And then I try to always think to myself too, like in the bigger picture of how things are woven. I was like, maybe she shouldn't have had her license for these 2 weeks. Maybe that avoided some calamity. I don't know what we have for time, but I was driving to something this past weekend.
That is strange to think that way. Like, what is the ripple effect of that not happening? Right. It is weird to even think of that.
Yeah, because it's the inverse of what you would normally think.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, this past weekend, I was driving to an event in Pennsylvania, and I am notoriously fast as a driver. So I'm in the left lane. I'm committing crimes. I'm getting my radio up, and I'm going. And I've been running with these same two cars in front of me for quite a while now. We're in New Jersey, just getting over into Pennsylvania, and I'm in the left lane. My father's a truck driver. Always told me, look far, far ahead. Mm-hmm. And he taught me zone driving, where you always know where your blind spot is. So you have to ditch. You don't have to look.
Yep.
And two cars in front of me, all of a sudden I see something fly to the left and start to bounce off the Jersey barrier. And I'm like, what the hell's that? It was the guy, the whole front left tire, rim and all. Like, it wasn't just
oh my God.
So that car like nosedives. And
oh my God.
As soon as I witnessed the tire, it's just smoke and sparks. And the car in front of me ditches left. I don't know if he hit the barrier or not, because I was going so fast I didn't have a chance to even look at anything else. I just knew I had nobody on my right, so I just swerved right and just accelerated through the smoke because I knew his car was sliding. I didn't want to get hit. And I, by the grace of God and the lessons my father taught me, I got through that without a problem. And it was funny because I was thinking, like, just before that, I was going to try to get around those guys because somebody else was messing around behind me. And I was like, if I moved at one wrong time, like something else,
That would have been
anything
it.
could have happened, you know? And every day is like that, which is why I try to make an effort to try to encourage others to remember traffic should be like a zipper. Let
Yeah.
that person go, and then
They're
you
not
go.
going to happen. Not
I
gonna
know,
happen.
but I got to keep trying because
Well,
maybe it'll make a difference.
you know what's funny? Again, along those points, I was in 2 wrecks in my life. I was in a convertible where I actually I hydroplaned, I went off road into woods and wound up upside down. And I woke up to the music of Poison, Nothing But a Good Time.
Wow. A great song for a weird moment.
That's what woke me up, and I realized I was upside down, and the car was still. And I thought, like, of every movie I've ever seen, the car blows up. You know, when they crash. Right. I crawl out of the car and I go to the road, and some guy is there, and he runs right by me to the car, and then he runs back to me. He said, "Were you in there?" And I said, "Yeah," and I was concussed, so I was, you know. And he said, "Sit here, you know, wait." And that car was demolished. Anybody else? No seatbelt either. That was one. And then I was hit head on by a car going. I was going up towards the hill. There was a car in front of me that was slowing for the yellow. A young person wanted to make the light, went around that person. I was turning. He met me at the intersection, full speed, blood gushing out of my head. I thought I was done for sure. But I survived both of those. And if you ever watched The Sopranos, which I loved back then,
sure.
Tony, when he got shot, he had that life affirmation where he was like in the park, appreciating the leaves blowing and the sound of the kids playing. That was both times when it happened to me. You really get it's called like the life shock, where you go, how many other people, like what you're talking about, were in that very position and didn't walk away.
Right.
Because it was either their fate or it was meant to be or whatever. I've had that twice and walked away. So I know my mom always said to me, when it's your time, you're going to go.
Yeah.
And I sort of
but somebody brought up a really good point. One, do you believe in guardian angels? And was it divine intervention?
I don't believe it.
I believe in the divine
I believe in guardian angels now that my mom
I believe in divine intervention.
Well, there's a good question, Dustin, for a little longer.
All
do you
right.
believe in guardian angels, and do you believe you have one?
So before I get to those, just real quick, I wanted to mention someone in the chat I saw many screens ago mentioned the Mr. Magoo Christmas special, which is fantastic. I really love it.
I love Mr. Magoo.
He's so great. And my other one is Ziggy's Christmas Miracle. Not many people remember Ziggy. He was like a 1960s comic strip guy. Yeah. But he has a great one too, Ziggy's Christmas Miracle. And happy birthday to Lisa. I saw that early on. Okay, so guardian angels, yes, I do believe in them. I believe that there's a circle of spirits that kind of keeps an eye on us. I know me personally in my prayer life, I often ask for that. I often ask for family members or friends that have passed on that haven't revisited, if they can keep an eye on my daughter specifically and my wife. I don't worry about me too much. I really feel like I'm very blessed. I've made so many stupid decisions, but I somehow squeak through all the time.
Well, I was going to ask you that. Are the guardian angels kin, or are they just angels that look after, like It's a Wonderful Life? Just
I like to think that like an onion, there's layers of angels. Okay. I think that maybe the ones closest to us are often relatives. Right. I kind of feel like guardian angels are the ones that kind of cast the big path, the big fate stuff, and make sure that you're getting where you need to go. Again, this is just my own little ideas.
Right.
Anybody else probably not right, but it brings me comfort and it doesn't cause anybody any harm. So yeah, I often will ask my mom to look after my daughter, and call on family members if I'm going through something I knew they would have been through or understood. Sometimes my uncle and my grandfather's real close to him, like, I'm going through this, like, and I'll just talk to them like they're right there with me, because I feel like they are in that moment. Like, Uncle Bob, I need help with this, because I knew he would get it. And I
do believe they are, though. We were having the conversation this weekend. Sorry to interrupt you, but somebody was mentioning that very thing, like, I wish my father would come through to me. It was that sort of conversation. And I'm like, I'm one of the biggest skeptics there is. And I don't reach for things. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm going, oh, the light's on right now. That's my mom, the glow. I'll literally, in times of trouble, especially when things are kind of dire and I'm at kind of a point where it's like, I don't know what to do here. You know what I mean? I need help. And I will talk to my mom, thinking if anybody has any influence over a higher power, if there is one, my mom would have that sway, maybe.
Yeah.
And I'll literally, no lie, this is what I do. I'm like, Mom, you know how important this is. Please could you help me with this? And I'll close my eyes. This is kind of how nutty I am. And I'll go, if you're listening, Mom, please give me a sign so I know. And I kid you not, Dustin, there have been times where I ask for that and I'll be walking and things happen where like, a cardinal will fly by. Or one time I'm standing in front of a tree with my dog and not one blue jay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the tree in front of me. And they're all looking down at me. And I know I feel so good. And I'm like, thank you, Mom. Thank you. I know it in my heart and in my
and that's what's
fiber,
important.
my
That's
being.
what
I know
it's what
she's there.
It what calls to you.
Yeah.
It's what reverberates with you.
Yeah. There was so Mom passes this July, and she wanted hospice care, and so we did that at their house, and being the one with medical training in the family, it's just me and my dad anyway, but I was giving her the medicine all the time, which is it's just difficult, but at the same point where you're fulfilling their wishes, so you're doing it. And we get through all that. Mom passes. Now it's torrential rain and flooding. I call Rhode Island's only 45 minutes wide. I call the funeral home, and they're only like 10 minutes down the street, but because of the flooding and the street closures, it might be about 90 minutes. Now I get Dad falling apart, crying. He's on the floor. He's slamming his fists on the bed. This is the love of his life since they were, 18, 22. And I'm like, what the hell do I do here? I don't know. I have no idea what to do. And I'm not reacting emotionally at this point because I'm just still trying to figure it out. And Italian family, I knew my dad hadn't eaten in days. I put on water for pasta. I went and sat with them. I go back. I make the pasta. It's okay to laugh. Don't feel bad.
No, it's so funny because I have a similar experience.
So I make all the pasta. I put it in the kitchen. The kitchen's like on the other side of the wall from the living room where Mom is. So I got him in there eating the pasta, and then Mom's laying in there, waiting on the undertaker's men. And I've got I was like, the house is too quiet. My head's ringing. Dad's crying. So I put on the Pandora oldies station on Alexa. And so I'm sitting there. Dad's eating pasta. Mom's dead in the next room. I'm somewhere in the middle, confused as to what the hell I'm doing. So I went over and I got my phone and I said, Mom, I'm going to try to record your voice. And I know that you know the things I know about this field, so you wouldn't think this macabre or weird because she liked this stuff. And so I just pressed record. And I said, I'm not going to say anything else, but if you or any of the family members that are here want to let me know you're here, this is a way to do so. And there wasn't anything when I went back to listen. But I wanted her to know that here's a chance to communicate with me. Let me know. And I shut it off. And I said, Mom, if there's any way for you to give me a sign, like I would really just like to know that you're okay here. And it was quiet. Went back in the room with Dad. He was finishing his pasta. And Undertaker's guys got there. I let them in. And the moment the guy walks through the back door with the gurney, the Alexa starts to play Patsy Cline's Crazy, which was originally written by Willie Nelson. And one of the first memories that I have of our apartment, which I only lived until I was like 6, was sitting in my mom's lap. She had like a teal bathrobe, and she used to play the Patsy Cline 45 of Crazy. Anytime her and Dad got into a fight or whatever, which I came from a very happy family, but life is tough. Humans are difficult and people argue, whatever, nobody got hurt or anything. But anytime they would fight, Dad would go out and Mom would play Crazy. And that came on the moment they came in that back door. And I just looked over at her. I was like, well done. That
was her way.
Couldn't be more perfect, And I don't think we ever discussed the connection to that song. But I'm sure she knows, and so that was truly special to me. And I was like, yeah, I know she's okay.
That's pretty good. Deb was talking about her mom came to her once in a dream, and she said whether it was real or not, it was fantastic, and it made her feel better when she woke up. And it's funny because we're getting my daughter's birthday who passed. Her birthday's coming up on the 28th, so it's a little tough. But the cool part is that she usually stays with my other daughter and my grandson, her nephew, and she's always there with them. It's strange. She even has her ashes because they were like this. They were soulmates. It's the best way to describe it. And it's been hard for me, and it's getting harder, and it sucks. And I had a dream last night where she came to me as a child. She loves the beach. We were sitting on the beach. And she's playing with the shells. She's not talking to me at all, not saying a word. And she's doing all the stuff she loved to do when she would be on the beach as a little girl. And then it immediately jumps to where she's older and she's doing something because she was harmed an awful lot because of her illness. And somebody was getting ready to harm her. And she turns and she looks at me and she looks back at this person and goes, nope, not anymore. That's done with. Can't hurt me anymore. I'm a very happy person. And she goes and she gets into this Jeep or something and drives off into the sunset. And that's her way of just telling. And this is what Deb just said. It might have been a dream, but I know what I felt and it was real. And it just made me feel really good to know I'm letting you know I'm okay.
I do believe the longer I've been doing what we do and the more experiences that I've had, there's so many more questions than answers, of course, but I do in my heart and my head believe that the method of quote unquote communication between this place and whatever that place might be, there is some. I don't know if why every spirit can't show themselves, or why they can't all move things, or why they can't cast their voice on recorders all the time. But I do believe that if there's a way, they try to find a way. My mom was the most I don't know if untechnical is a word, or non-technical person you would ever meet, and didn't believe in any sci-fi, anything. And I think my mom came to me in ways that she figured out, or maybe someone showed her, knowing my mom. But in my heart of hearts, I do believe that they're around us and they are listening and they are trying to come through in ways that they can. And that's my belief.
Yeah, the dream state I think is amazing, and yeah, there's some things we can explain, some elements that pop in, and you're like, oh, well, that's because I was doing this yesterday. I was really thinking
Yep.
those things make sense. But I do believe that, because I don't think it'd be an every night occurrence, but there are those special nights where I feel spirit comes to us and kind of signals us in some way that we would recognize. A lot of times, in the 10 to 14 days after we lose somebody specifically, you see them at the foot of your bed or feel like they're sitting on your bed. You may see them in like their favorite chair or where they are in the house normally. And I kind of feel like that's their transition time, to kind of say goodbye in that way. And it's interesting too, if you look at a lot of cultures, I know the like Buddhist beliefs are one that part of their rituals for after death is understanding. I think it's actually a 14-day period where the soul is transitioning from this life into the next life, and certain things need to be done for that. But I also feel that a loving God, goddess, or creator would always allow them to visit us too, and especially when we're going through something difficult. In Native American understandings, that dream state's a very popular time for communication, and I think that before we get into that REM cycle and when we first come out of it, I think that's when we're most susceptible to them kind of intervening with us, because we're not completely out of it yet, but we're not paying attention to anything in this world yet either. And I think that's why we often wake up like we've just seen them, or just as we're falling to sleep, we think we see them or we hear them, we wake up. And I think there's something to be said about their ability to cross over in that time. Maybe not every night, but maybe on certain emotional occasions or things that are very important. But those are just my ideas anyway.
Well,
some people like them. But
I was laughing when you mentioned the pasta thing, because it is a very Italian thing. Food is always associated with passing with Italian families, and my mom passed literally like that night or the night pasta, and stuff. And I'm just like, the last thing on earth I want to do is eat. I just lost,
Right.
What do we go? What's going on here?
They're just
we're popping in and out of screens now. This is
I don't know
weird.
what's going on.
But anyway, it is a very Italian thing. Like, you gotta feed people for everything when you're Italian. Doesn't matter what it is.
I had cousins and nephews come over like lasagna, meatballs. Oh yeah, we ate for days.
Like you'll feel less if you're fat.
Yeah.
Trust me. Trust me.
Bury your feelings in marinara.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I know we went down the rabbit hole with everything, and it wasn't really paranormal related. But again, the reason I asked Dustin to come on because he's a friend, and again, he's a good person, very again motivational. Um, I thought everybody would kind of resonate and kind of get the message of really appreciate life, not just for the holidays, just in general, and enjoy this time. With
Be kind to each other.
yeah, exactly.
Please, it matters. A smile can change somebody's mood or moment, or you don't know what they're going through. And if somebody needs an ear, give an ear. It doesn't cost us anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Dustin, I'll give you a platform to give your this is like Scrooge at the end of the movie where he gives his speech.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, listen, I just I'm thankful to you guys for having me here. Thankful for the opportunity. I appreciate everybody who joined us tonight and gave this a listen. It's never wasted upon me how important our time is. And so the fact that you guys all spent time here together is amazing. We are always misconstrued and told the wrong things. We're told that money is the most important thing in this world, and it's not. It's time. Because no matter how much money you make, you can never buy back the time that it took you to make it. So be cognizant of that. Don't always be chasing that almighty dollar. And it doesn't get as much as it used to anyway. And I just try to get mozzarella stick money and the mortgage. Everything else,
and sugar cubes and cookie dough and whatever.
So thank you guys so much for spending your time with us.
I hope all your health issues do find some kind of relief and get better. Honestly, prayers are with you. I know how difficult it is, but again, just like you tell others, I suffer from, if you ever need someone to talk to when you're down, you could always call me and I can sympathize. Believe me, I suffer through a lot of things myself, and you help a lot of people. You deserve, some of that yourself every now and then.
Yeah, sometimes the people who are out there supporting others, people have to remember they need support too. That's where we keep each other strong.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you guys very much. Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays to you and your family. And
thank you.
We will see you next November.
Sounds good, man. I'll be there.
Even before that.
Until after the new year.
Yeah, exactly. Here I am talking already, and I'm breaking my own. I can't help myself either. All right, Dustin. Take care.
Good night, Dustin. Thank you.
Anyway, that's it. That's one of the many interviews. I know it wasn't really paranormal based, but
it was human based.
It was just, again, Dustin's such a good guy. He helps so many people. He's so motivational and caring. And I didn't know half the stuff he was dealing with, and I could relate because of what I deal with. And it's great having him on. We'll have
But isn't that the lesson of all of this? Sometimes if you just sit down and you have conversation with someone, you learn that there is a connection and that there is something about that person you didn't know that actually could help you, and vice versa.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's just about, like he said, you can't buy back time. It's true. And appreciate the time you have and the time you have with the people you have it with, and friends and loved ones, and for yourself, and just try to make many good memories as you can. The years go by fast. Yeah,
because the good memories and the laughing with people and taking those moments, those are the things that get you through the hard times. Those are what you draw on. And if you don't have a well of that, then you turn to somebody that maybe can help you laugh and start creating them. There's always hope. I believe in that. That's who I am. I practice what I preach.
She does.
I do, and I drive him crazy.
Me, not so much. But anyway, today's Monday. Don't know what we're going to be doing the rest of the week. If we are doing the Creeper Gallery Ghost of Christmas Past on Friday. So we'll be there for our last event of 2023. We'll do a whole big wrap-up show, I'm sure, down the road. If we're not at the Creeper Gallery this week, we'll just be on here having another conversation. We still have Steve Gonzalez coming up for an interview, as well as Chip Coffee at the end of the year, probably the same week, actually last week before Christmas. So have a good night, guys. Thank you for joining us as usual. Thank you for your support. We couldn't do this without you guys. We'll see you soon.
Stay healthy. Be well. take care of yourself, and please be kind to one another. It does make a huge difference.
Night, guys.
Night, everybody.